At 3:46 a.m., Jackson Ward used his crane to lift a container worth $5.8 million, and no one at the port even noticed. He'd pulled off 2 other thefts in the past 3 months, each one bigger and riskier. Security footage looked normal, but every move was planned to the second. And the next score? Twice as big. Stick around to see how Jackson turned an entire Gulf Coast port into his personal ATM. And tell me in the comments, could you pull off a heist like this? But right now, Ethan Cole stood on the bridge of the Northern Star, watching federal agents surround the service dock below. His hands gripped the radio as sweat dripped down his face. The container swap had failed. The diamonds were fake. And Captain Martinez was staring right at him through binoculars from the Coast Guard cutter. All units, suspect is attempting to flee via pilot boat. Martinez's voice crackled over the radio. Do not let him reach international waters. Ethan's 22 years of maritime experience kicked in. He grabbed the emergency radio. Coast Guard, this is Harbor Pilot Cole. We have severe weather conditions developing. I'm ordering immediate departure for vessel safety. Negative, Cole. Return to dock immediately. But Ethan was already moving. He sprinted to the pilot boat navigator, his heart pounding. Inside the electronics compartment, $2.8 million in cash from his jewelry heist waited. His ticket to freedom? The engine roared to life. Behind him, searchlights swept the water as the Coast Guard cutter Vigilant gave chase. How did it come to this? 18 months ago, Ethan Cole was Miami Port's most trusted harbor pilot. Perfect safety record. Coast Guard hero. Now he was America's most wanted maritime criminal. It started with Adrian Klein at a maritime conference in Fort Lauderdale. You ever wonder what's really in those containers, Ethan? Adrian had asked over beers. As a customs broker, he had access to cargo manifests that most people never saw. Legitimate cargo, Ethan replied. Adrian laughed. Check out container MSCU-4471938 coming in Tuesday. Swiss watches worth $3 million, just sitting there. Ethan went home that night thinking about numbers. He guided billions in cargo annually while earning $185,000. The math didn't add up. Over the next 6 months, Ethan systematically built his intelligence network. He helped Tracy Young with navigation training, earning her loyalty and dispatch. He became Luis Paredes' best customer for ship supplies, learning which vessels carried valuable cargo. His old Coast Guard buddy, Victor Rojas, owed him money and needed work. The first target was small, a luxury yacht carrying $50,000 in cash for a Miami Beach poker game. Criminal money that couldn't be reported stolen. Just a test run, Ethan told Victor as they positioned the tugboat to block camera angles. Luis's supply boat approached the yacht Sovereign right on schedule. The transfer took exactly 73 seconds. Cash to pilot boat, legitimate supplies to yacht. When Coast Guard Captain Rodriguez showed up unexpectedly, Ethan stayed calm. Evening, Captain. Beautiful night for a supply run. Sure is, Ethan. Everything looked good out here? Perfect conditions, safe as houses. Rodriguez never suspected that Ethan had $50,000 hidden in his cabin. The theft went undetected for 3 days. Success bred ambition. The jewelry container was worth $2.8 million. This requires container seal forgery, said Ida Novak, the former customs technician Ethan recruited. I can make perfect duplicates, but we need exact timing. The Baltic Express arrived at 1:15 a.m. Ethan ordered an inspection anchorage, citing load distribution concerns. Perfectly legitimate. At 1:54 a.m., Edmund Torres caused an equipment malfunction, sending the inspector away. Ida had 90 seconds to switch seals and replace diamond jewelry with costume replicas. Inspection complete, Ethan radioed. Container passes. Proceed to terminal. The theft was flawless. Until Customs Supervisor Maria Santos arrived for a surprise audit. Load distribution check? Sana studied the crane operator's nervous face. That's unusual for this time of night. Ethan's throat went dry. Standard safety procedure, ma'am. Weather conditions require extra caution. Santos examined Ida's forged seals with a magnifying glass. 10 seconds passed. 20. 30. Seals look correct, she finally said. Victor's fake man overboard call diverted Santos to a rescue operation. By the time she returned, the jewelry was gone, and the ship was docking normally. But Santos filed a report. Security officer Janet Mills received a copy and noticed a pattern. 2 incidents, both involving harbor pilot Ethan Cole. The cartel money was Ethan's biggest mistake. $15 million in cash hidden in a refrigerated fish container from Colombia. Adrian's intelligence suggested easy money from criminals who couldn't report theft. These people don't call police, Ethan told his team. They handle problems differently. Jake and Marcus, the former Navy SEALs, dove beneath the oceanic trader at 2:45 a.m. Marple waste collection provided perfect cover. They extracted $8 million in the first pass. Then Coast Guard cutter Vigilant appeared for surprise inspection. Ethan, Captain Rodriguez called over radio, need to board and check documents. Jake and Marcus were still underwater with $7 million in cash. Ethan had to stall. Roger, Captain Ship's captain is running final systems check. Give us 10 minutes? Victor reported a fake emergency at the cruise terminal. Rodriguez diverted to assist. The divers escaped, but Ethan only got 8 of 15 million. The cartels noticed. Within days, enforcers were asking questions at port bars about unusual activity around Colombian ships. Captain Sarah Martinez received an intelligence report. Pattern analysis suggests possible insider involvement in 3 maritime incidents. But Ethan couldn't stop. The diamond shipment was his obsession. $28 million. One perfect crime to end it all. Container TCLU-4478-291, Adrian reported. Military-grade security, real-time tracking, impossible to steal. Nothing's impossible, Ethan replied. We're going to swap the entire container. The plan was brilliant. Emergency weather rebirthing would move the Northern Star to the service dock. A container swap during legitimate crane operations. Ida's duplicate container had identical weight and perfect seals. 3 weeks of preparation had gone into this moment. Ida worked 18-hour days in Luis's warehouse, crafting the perfect duplicate container. Every rivet, every paint scratch, every custom seal had to match exactly. Weight distribution is critical, she explained, welding steel plates inside the fake container. Crane operators feel the difference. Too light, and they know something's wrong. She filled it with concrete blocks and scrap metal, bringing the total weight to 24,847 pounds, exactly matching the diamond shipment. The forged custom seals were works of art, created using stolen manufacturing equipment from a defunct security company. Zeke spent 2 weeks mapping every camera angle and radio frequency. His laptop showed the service dock's blind spots in real time. 90-second window, he reported. Cameras pan left at 2:14:30, back to center at 2:16:00. That's our opening. Edmund provided the patrol schedules. Coast Guard changes shift at 2 a.m. 15-minute gap when new crew reviews positions. Port security does equipment check at 2:10. Nobody watching the service dock. Victor studied crane operations for days, timing every movement. Container lift takes 45 seconds. Swap needs 30 seconds max. Transport another 15. We're cutting it close. Tracy's scheduling was perfect. She'd arranged for all other pilots to be busy with incoming vessels. Ethan would handle the Northern Star alone. No witnesses to question his emergency procedures. Weather data supports severe wind conditions, Adrian confirmed, accessing National Weather Service records. Gusts up to 45 knots predicted. Perfect justification for emergency rebirthing. The night of the operation, Ethan felt ice in his veins instead of blood. $28 million. Enough to disappear forever. At 1:30 a.m., he boarded the Northern Star. Captain Petrov, a grizzled Russian, barely looked up from his charts. Port Pilot Cole reporting for duty, Captain. Duh. Take us to berth 7, standard approach. Ethan studied the weather monitoring equipment. Wind readings were actually calm, but his falsified reports showed dangerous conditions developing. At 1:45 a.m., he keyed his radio. Port Authority, this is Northern Star, requesting emergency rebirthing to service dock. Current wind conditions pose safety risk to standard terminal approach. Copy Northern Star. Emergency rebirthing approved. Proceed to service dock Charlie. Captain Petrov frowned. Wind seems fine to me. Microbursts are unpredictable, Captain. Safety first. Ethan guided the massive vessel toward the service dock, his heart hammering. In the distance, he could see Luis's truck positioned near the gate, ready to transport the real container once the swap was complete. Victor's tugboat Defender approached for standard docking assistance, but positioned perfectly to block the service dock from harbor patrol cameras. Defender in position, Victor radioed. At 2:10 a.m., Zeke confirmed all systems. Cameras entering maintenance cycle. Port security beginning equipment check. Coast Guard shift change in progress. Window opening in 4 minutes. Ida waited in the crane operator's cabin with her contact, Jimmy Reese. She'd paid him $50,000 to ensure the container swap went smoothly. Remember, she told Jimmy, lift TCLU 4478291 for cargo stability inspection. When I give the signal, lower it to the platform truck. Fake container goes up, real one comes down. Ethan watched the seconds tick by. 2:13:45, 2:14:00, 2:14:15. Crane operator, he radioed, please lift container TCLU 4478291 for stability inspection. Ship motion requires cargo adjustment. The massive crane arm swung into position. Steel cables descended to the diamond container. Ethan held his breath as the container lifted off the ship's deck. But something felt wrong. The container rose too quickly, too easily. Jimmy Reese's voice crackled over the crane radio. This container's lighter than the manifest shows. Something's not right. Ethan's blood went cold. He grabbed binoculars and studied the container more carefully. The custom seals looked perfect, but the lifting dynamics were all wrong. At 2:14:30, his worst fears were confirmed. Through the crane's transparent control cabin, he saw a figure he recognized. Captain Sarah Martinez of Coast Guard Intelligence, wearing a hard hat and safety vest, speaking into a radio. She was directing the operation. All units, suspect has taken the bait. Martinez's voice came through his backup radio frequency. Container is empty decoy. Initiate arrest sequence. Federal agents emerged from shipping containers throughout the service dock. FBI, DEA, Coast Guard Intelligence. They'd been watching everything. Ethan realized with crystal clarity that he'd been played. The diamond shipment was fake. The whole operation was a federal sting designed to catch him in the act. His radio crackled with Victor's panicked voice. Ethan, feds everywhere! Get out now! But it was too late. Agents surrounded the Northern Star. Spotlights blazed from every direction. The trap had been perfectly executed. 28 million in diamonds had never existed. The real treasure was Ethan himself, the mastermind they'd spent 8 months hunting. But Martinez was watching. She'd turned it into a federal sting operation. At 2:14 a.m., as the crane lifted the diamond container, Ethan realized something was wrong. Too light. Decoy. Federal agents moved in from all directions. Ethan abandoned the swap and ordered emergency departure. Severe weather conditions require immediate exit from port. He escaped via pilot boat while agents stormed empty docks. But his career was over. Now, racing through government cut with the Coast Guard in pursuit, Ethan's phone buzzed with a text. Return our 8 million or your family disappears. You have 48 hours. The cartels had found him. At 12:22 a.m., the navigator's engine died, sabotaged by cartel contacts at the marina. Coast Guard boards surrounded him in international waters. Martinez stepped aboard personally. Ethan Cole, you're under arrest for maritime theft, racketeering, and conspiracy. Hidden in the electronics compartment, agents found $2.8 million in cash. How long have you known? Ethan asked as handcuffs clicked. Since the yacht theft, Martinez replied. We've been watching you for 8 months, waiting for you to lead us to your whole operation. Federal prosecutors move fast. Ethan pled guilty to avoid cartel retaliation in general population. 25 years federal prison, protective custody. Victor got 15 years, Adrian 18, Tracy 12, Luis 10, Ida Otto. The maritime industry implemented dual authorization for all emergency procedures. Real-time container tracking became mandatory. Harbor pilot operations required constant oversight. 5 years later, Ethan sits in his cell reading maritime security journals. Federal prosecutors visit regularly, seeking information about copycat operations in Long Beach, Charleston, and Seattle. Your blueprint is being used nationwide, they tell him. Help us stop it. Ethan provides detailed analysis of the vulnerabilities he exploited. His betrayal ultimately made the system stronger, but at the cost of his freedom, reputation, and family. Through his cell window, he watches news coverage of Miami Port's record cargo volume. The harbor he once controlled now operates more securely than ever. Sometimes the greatest crimes lead to the greatest protections. So here's my question for you. Do you think Ethan deserved his 25-year sentence? Or was he just a product of a system that underpaid him while he handled billions? Let me know in the comments below. And if you believe that greed will always find a way to exploit trust, hit that subscribe button. Please give this video a like if you think maritime security needed this wake-up call, even if it came at such a devastating cost. What other trusted insider stories would you like me to cover next?